So this is something new that I'm trying, and it is reading a little bit from some of my favorite books. By the way, these are not reading glasses. They are prescription glasses for reading. Technically, those feel like the same things, but I refuse to say that I wear reading glasses, and I actually don't technically need them. But also, I think they're cute, and that's part of the style piece of this channel. So, tonight, I am going to read from The Hobbit, which is one of my very favorite books of all time. This particular passage is the most beautiful and pivotal passage in the entire book. It's chapter 12. It's called Inside Information. And I'm going to read a little part that kind of sets us up for it and also gives us a nice, funny little vignette of the dwarves because they're interesting characters. For a long time, the dwarves stood in the dark before the door and debated, until at last Thorin spoke. Now is the time for our esteemed Mr. Baggins, who has proved himself a good companion on our long road, and a hobbit, full of courage and resource, far exceeding his size, and if I may say so, possessed of good luck far exceeding the usual allowance. Now is the time for him to perform the service for which he was included in our company. Now is the time for him to earn his reward. You are familiar with Thorin's style on important occasions, so I will not give you any more of it, though he went on a good deal longer than this. It certainly was an important occasion, but Bilbo felt impatient. By now he was quite familiar with Thorin too, and he knew what he was driving at. If you mean you think it is my job to go into the secret passage first, O Thorin Thrain's son Oakenshield, may your beard grow ever longer, he said crossly. Say so at once, and have done. I might refuse. I have got you out of 2 messes already, which were hardly in the original bargain, so that I am, I think, already owed some reward. But 3rd time pays for all, as my father used to say, and somehow I don't think I shall refuse. Perhaps I have begun to trust my luck more than I used to in the old days. He meant last spring before he left his own house, but it seemed centuries ago. But anyway, I think I will go and have a peep at once and get it over. Now, who is coming with me? He did not expect a chorus of volunteers, so he was not disappointed. Philly and Killy looked uncomfortable and stood on one leg, but the others made no pretense of offering, except old Balin, the lookout man, who was rather fond of the Hobbit. He said he would come inside at last, and perhaps a bit of the way too, ready to call for help if necessary. The most that can be said for the dwarves is this. They intended to pay Bilbo really handsomely for his services. They had brought him to do a nasty job for them, and they did not mind the poor little fellow doing it if he would. But they would all have done their best to get him out of trouble, well, if he got into it, as they did in the case of the trolls at the beginning of their adventures before they had any particular reasons for being grateful to him. There it is. Dwarves are not heroes, but calculating folk with a great idea of the value of money. Some are tricky and treacherous and pretty bad lots. Some are not, but are decent enough people like Thorin and company if you don't expect too much. The stars were coming out behind him in a pale sky barred with black when the hobbit crept through the enchanted door and stole into the mountain. It was far easier going than he expected. This was no goblin entrance or rough wood elf's cave. It was a passage made by dwarves at the height of their wealth and skill, straight as a ruler, smooth-floored and smooth-sided, going with a gentle, never-varying slope, direct to some distant end in the blackness below. After a while, Balin bade Bilbo good luck, and stopped where he could still see the faint outline of the door, and by a trick of the echoes of the tunnel, hear the rustle of the whispering voices of the others just outside. Then the hobbit slipped on his ring, and warned by the echoes to take more than Hobbit's care to make no sound, he crept noiselessly down, 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 into the dark. He was trembling with fear, but his little face was set and grim. Already, he was a very different Hobbit from the one that had run out without a pocket handkerchief from Bag End long ago. He had not had a pocket handkerchief for ages. He loosened his dagger in its sheath, tightened his belt, and went on. Now you are in for it at last, Bilbo Baggins, he said to himself. You went and you put your foot right in it that night at the party, and now you've got to pull it out and pay for it. Dear me, what a fool I was, and am, said the least tookish part of him. I have absolutely no use for dragon-guarded treasures, and the whole lot could stay here forever, if only I could wake up and find this beastly tunnel was my own front hall at home. He did not wake up, of course, but went still on and on till all sign of the door behind him had faded away. He was altogether alone. Soon he thought it was beginning to feel warm. Is that a kind of glow I seem to see coming right ahead down there? He thought. It was. As he went forward, it grew and grew, till there was no doubt about it. It was a red light, steadily getting redder and redder. Also, it was now undoubtedly hot in the tunnel. Wisps of vapor floated up and past him, and he began to sweat. A sound, too, began to throb in his ears, a sort of bubbling, like the noise of a large pot galloping on the fire, mixed with a rumble as of a gigantic tomcat purring. This grew to the unmistakable gurgling noise of some vast animal snoring in its sleep down there in the red globe in front of him. It was at this point that Bilbo stopped. Going on from there was the bravest thing he ever did. The tremendous things that happened afterwards were as nothing compared to it. He fought the real battle in the tunnel alone, before he ever saw the vast danger that lay in wait. At any rate, after a short halt, go on he did, and you can picture him coming to the end of the tunnel, an opening of much the same size and shape as the door above. Through it peeps the Hobbit's little head. Before him lies the great bottommost cellar, or dungeon hall of the ancient dwarves, right at the mountain's root. It is almost dark, so that its vastness can only be dimly guessed. But rising from the near side of the rocky floor, there is a great glow, the glow of smoke. Now, Smog is the dragon. He's terrifying, and he's guarding treasure. And this is the treasure that the dwarves are very interested in. But you see from Tolkien's writings, the dwarves are not the heroes of the story. They're not particularly bad. They're decent enough if you don't expect too much. And of course, they know the value of money, so they know how to pay someone else to do the dirty work. I love that they're decent enough people if you don't expect too much. Such a great statement. I feel like a lot of people are like that. If you just don't expect too much, they're not too bad. The best part is the description of Bilbo doing the thing that none of the dwarves are willing to do, and that is to go down into the mountain where Smog is sleeping. He is quiet and he's good at creeping, and that's one of the reasons why the dwarves thought he would make a great little burglar. He is surprisingly brave. And he doesn't get brave right away. He sort of falls into this, and he talks to himself about that. Like, of course, you did this to yourself, and now you have to see it through. But my favorite part is the part that says that this is the most brave thing he does. It's not actually confronting the dragon. It's not any of the other things in the book, which he does many brave things. It's being in the darkness of the tunnel and making a decision to go even deeper into darkness. That is Tolkien's interpretation of Bilbo's most brave act. The tremendous things that happened afterwards were as nothing compared to it. He fought the real battle in the tunnel alone before he ever saw the vast danger that lay in wait. When I was reading this to my boys, that part struck me, the realization of the things, the brave things that we do that don't feel very brave because we're in the middle of that fear. We're in the middle of the darkness and we're in the dark place with the sounds drumming in our ears, with our imagination just running away with us. What is on the other side of this? And the bravest part is not when we confront what's on the other side, it's when we decide to continue. The courage comes in the darkness. I love that. And the courage leads to us acting brave, stepping into the adventure. We got to put it on first, and we put it on in the darkness. Bilbo was the only one that could truly do this job. Now, that doesn't mean that the dwarves couldn't have, but maybe the dwarves really weren't up to the challenge. Maybe Bilbo truly was the only one that could be brave in the tunnel and that could continue to go down, down, down into the darkness to find the dragon. What is the bravest thing that you've ever done? Did you feel brave when you were doing it? Did you try to talk yourself out of it? Like Bilbo did. I could just close my eyes and just be back at my house. If I could just close my eyes and I could be out of this situation. But he knew that wasn't possible. He was already there and he had to see it through. And the bravest thing he did was in the darkness. This is Bedtime Stories with Jess.